Oh, shoot, that's annoying. I just realized I have window and window on right now. Let's see if I can turn that off real quick. Hey, everybody. Stomp bar here. How do I turn that off? Display capture 2? If I do that, there we go. I had that on from our CitizenCon stream. Anyway, just some channel information for you guys. I know it's been a long time since I make any videos. The last one I did, I actually deleted. I did one going over all the ships of Star Citizen and my thoughts on them, and well, congratulations, I guess I've arrived as a video content creator. I got a lot of hate mail, personal messages, comments about this and that, about this ship is better than what you said, or I feel like your list wasn't. So you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do any videos other than when I get a chance to fly a new ship or I feel like it, I'll do a Star Citizen pilot reviews video. I'm going to do general videos for games I enjoy playing. I'm done trying to grow my channel. I'm just going to basically make channels and make videos as I feel like it to help out some org mates, or if I feel a ship should be commented on, or I really enjoy flying. So basically I'm just going to make videos for fun because you know what? My channel. I do what I want. So today we're going to be talking about not Star Citizen. We're going to be talking about NewWorld, which is, yes, a buggy game. It's had a lot of issues, but good lord am I having fun with it. So what I got here is my character, which I built up as a tank to help my company. So again, truculent. We have a company in game. It's not just truculent, but it's also with a partner org, House Merc. So we got some friends in here playing. Not a whole lot, pretty low key. But I've enjoyed playing a tank slash DPS. Now what I got here is I've got a build. If you're familiar with NewWorld, I just finished running a group through the Reek-Rotter Elite area down here, Forecastle Drift. We cleared this out. And we did this without a healer. So no healer, just me tanking, using my own built-in self-heals with my build that I've got created, and some pots. And, just DPS, because we weren't able to find a healer. It was very early this morning. They're doing a Merc run. I did a Merc run yesterday, and I tanked that, but I did have a healer. So, again, the build did great. But I think where this build really shines is if you don't have a good healer, or if you're running expeditions, and or you're just solo. It's a great build for just all-around, super tanky, good damage, good survivability, and some self-healing built in. So we're going to go into it as far as the attributes, because that's kind of where everything starts. So you're going to see here I've got both strength and dexterity, strength and constitution up to 200 is the goal, right? So I'm very borderline base 60. So as you're leveling up, I really do recommend just putting a point into each. One strength, one con, one strength, one con. I used to go very heavy in constitution, and in the end game, I'm finding out, one, when you're solo, you need the strength to do damage, and two, the strength really does help with threat. And as far as survivability, it also helps with that. And I'll go into why. So again, in constitution, you've got these little milestones, right? So the first one, you're going to get consumables are 20% stronger. Logging speed, who cares? Nice, but who cares? Increase max health by 10% of your physical armor. Excellent. Minus 10 reduction on durability loss for tools. Nice. Minus 10% to crit damage taken. This is huge for both PvP and PvE. Decreased weight of logging items. Meh. And then the important one you always want to have is 20% increase to armor. Logging speed increase, cool, whatever. Now, as we look at the other ones, minus 80% reduction when full health. One, you're very rarely actually going to be full health, and it's got a minute cooldown. So really, it'll be cool once a minute, at most. You're not going to notice it. It's not worth the additional 50 points. If you get there via gear, cool, but I would not put in attribute points towards it. Plus 20% duration of stun, slow, and root spells. Maybe fine in PvP when you're solo, but in a group, everyone else is stunning and rooting. Your stuns and roots are nice, but they're not going to be the be-all, end-all. And then plus 25% chance to chop down a tree. So again, these last two, if you get there naturally via gear, cool. But as you can see here, I've got my committed points 102. Because with the gear I currently have, so I'll respec as needed, because they've reduced the cost now. So it's only 200 gold. Only. I know, it's 3 dailies. but you do 3 of your faction dailies, you'll get 200 gold. It's easy. So getting to 200 constitutions your goal. Then after that, you want everything into strength. So I got 98 points into there right now, 96 from buffs and then 10 from equipment, etc. And then these milestones will help with your tanking. So you got plus 5% to damage, light attacks. Sword and board, you're mostly doing light attacks. 10% damage to melee, helps with your threat. 50% stamina damage from melee weapon and light attacks. Helps to get a blocking boss or mob to get their shield down so you can then use your threat generating abilities on them. Plus 10% damage on stunned, slowed, or rooted. Again, threat generation. And if you're able to, so at end game, the goal is 300 strength, believe it or not, for a tank. Stamina regen is faster while performing light and heavy attacks. So that helps you get your shield back up quicker. And light and heavy attacks with a melee weapon gain grit. That is the huge one, right? So you want the 200 constitution as a tank. I mean, that's your primary stat. Get your 200 con, let your gear give me you more. But 300 strength, the light and heavy attack grit, means you're not going to get knocked back from mobs. You're going to be able to stay in there, hitting your shield slam, hitting your light attacks, bringing out your mace, doing your area of effect generation without getting knocked back. So it's going to help you survivability, and it's going to help your threat generation. So really, you need that strength. Everyone says, oh, just put all your points into Constitution. If you want to be a giant meatball that has a lot of health, and again, the lot of health, really, it's after about 200 points. The difference between 300 con and 200 con is at most 800, I think it's about 800 health, maybe up to 1,000. But again, a lot of mobs do that in one hit. It's not that much in the grand scheme of things. Meanwhile, being able to hit your shield slam, being able to hit your shield rush if you've chosen that ability, being able to hit your abilities, your reverse stab to bring your cooldowns down, is huge. Alright, so now we're going to get into the sword builds. As you can see, I've got most of the weapons I use pretty high up. I haven't maxed out spear yet or a hatchet. This is kind of just for funsies I use these. My major bread and butter as a tank is Warhammer and sword and shield. So, for the tank perspective on the build, I've gone with a reverse stab out of the Swordmaster tree, and the reason being for Tactician, we get on a successful hit, reduces all cooldowns by 25%. Now, on a boss, it's a nice bonus. But on trash mobs, if you're able to hit more than one, it stacks. So you can get up to 100% reduction on your cooldowns if you've got 4 mobs and you're able to hit them all with your reverse stab. I've also gone with this passive. The final attack in your light chain causes a slow. Helps keep the mobs in range. Crit chance increased by 10%. Because you're not going to have a lot of crit in your build because you don't have a lot of dex. And that's going to help bring that crit up. And when you block an attack, gain a stack of Empower. It increases your damage. And then deal 10% more damage to slowed foes. So you're slowing them with your light attacks. And you're doing more damage while they're slowed. Shield Bash is a taunt. Right? So everyone says, oh, get Shield Rush. No. I personally, Shield Rush is fine. If you want to go with a heavy defender tree and not get reverse stab, it's viable. I don't think it's as good because you're not going to get as much cooldown reduction. And that is huge in this game. So you got Shield Bash, generates threat, stuns. You can interrupt heals if your enemy is put in a pot. Bam, Shield Bash, they don't get the pot. If they're casting a big spell, bam, interrupt the spell. And Shield Bash greatly increases threat and does 100% more damage. So you really great bread and butter. Passives I went with again, the physical armor. And stamina damage is reduced by 15% when blocking with a melee attack. You need that. You need sturdy grip. Defensive training, when you block an attack, you gain Fortify. 1 with the shield. When you block with a shield, all skills recharge 1%. So again, you're going to see an end-game content with a tower shield. You put your shield up to block trash mobs. It's bam, 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 bam. There's your abilities recharging for free. And you're gaining your Fortify. And, where is it? Where's counterattack? One of these is counterattack. That one. So you're getting hit, you're reducing your cooldowns, and you're gaining your damage up. That can stack up to 5 times, so you get up to 15% free extra damage for 5 seconds. Anyway, coming back to here, the other ability that's unmandatory is Defiant Stance. Now remember I said I tanked an elite area, hard-hitting, level 64 mobs, solo. The reason being, there. Gain 15% of your max health when Defiant Stance ends. So, I'm getting cooldown reduction from Tactician. I'm getting cooldown reduction from blocking. So this ability, which would have a 42-second cooldown, is down to like every 10 to 12 seconds. So every 10 to 12 seconds, when it ends, I'm getting 50% of my health back, constantly, on top of food buffs. So I'm able to keep my health up pretty healthy. Again, without a healer, you gotta make sure you manage your pulls, and be like, hey, alright guys, I need a brief second here. Let your health regen before you do the next pull. And then the last ability, Defensive Formation, is huge because while blocking, reduce damage to all allies within 2 meters by 30%. Now, 2 meters isn't that much. So it's about a distance like that. So it's not going to help a whole lot for like ranged. But any melee fighting the boss will usually be in that 2 meters or close to it. So again, that is a huge bonus. So that pretty much covers all of this up. You want to screenshot this. I recommend try this out for your sword and board build. Again, this isn't a DPS build. This is a tank build. This is for doing damage, creating threat, and survivability. And then with the Warhammer, I love the Warhammer. I mean, it's just the animations. So again, here's sword and board. Pretty boring, right? But then now let's switch over to this guy. I just popped the pot by accident. Alright, so this one sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. And that's just fun when you knock all the enemies away. Anyway, go to the build. So the Warhammer, I got some points from Juggernaut, but mostly passives. Everything is in Crowd Crusher. And again, this is another providing myself with some healing, with crowd control, and mostly AoE threat generation. This is not a damage build, but it still does damage. So I got here from Juggernaut, the passive, increase armor penetration by 10% for all standard attacks. That's your light attacks. Gain Empower on a heavy attack. So if I use a heavy, it increases my damage by 20%. Adds Grit to hammer heavy attacks. And grants a 20% damage reduction while the grit's active. So while I'm sitting there swinging my hammer, I'm getting 20% damage reduction on me. Contemptation? Our targets under 30% increase damage done by heavy attack. Now this is mostly for when I'm solo using the Great Hammer, because usually I just use it in the beginning of the pull. So, I'm grabbing the group of ads, I'm stunning them, AoEing them, and then switching to sword and board. Quick recovery, cooldowns reduced with heavy attacks. And then this is where everything really comes in for using the Great Hammer. So as you're leveling up, I would start with this tree and then add this one in later. So you got Clear Out, Wide Swing, that's one that I spun in the circle. Knocks enemies back 4 meters to create distance and deals 115% weapon damage. Shockwave, this is a taunt. Slam the hammer to the ground, causing a 3-meter radius AoE earthquake that deals 80% weapon damage, applies a stun, and again, it's taunt compatible. So if you want to know if something can taunt, you look for that taunt gem compatible there. And then Path of Destiny, a powerful ground strike that erupts a linear wave. So again, this is a pull. This is something I use to pull ads from a distance. You could make the argument for Mighty Gavel, but where Mighty Gavel really shines is once you've put all these points in there. And it's a great threat generating ability, but if you want to have all these points in, then you kind of have to drop. So you would drop this. You'd have to drop this one and get rid of this so that you can then get the Justice for All, and you'd probably go with Armor Breaker. So that's another build you could do. You could do Armor Breaker, Mighty Gavel, and Shockwave, but I've got much better luck using full Crowd Crusher, and the reason being is coming up in the build. So again, Shockwave, the next point up, causes trauma and does a weaken, and it expands the effective range up to 4 meters now. And then Clear Out, hitting a target grants Fortify, Clear out's cooldowns reduced by the amount of enemies you hit. Swing away using clear out grants haste. And then aftershock, whenever a target is affected by crowd control, they're slowed. Slowing keeps them in range of you and your team. Regain 35% of damage dealt as health when using a Crowd Crusher ability. This is a very important trait from this tree, and that means that whenever you use this, or this, you get 35% of that damage back as health, which is great. Again, 50% damage against targets affected by debuffs, and then Shockwave, buffing that. Now it staggers, and its cooldown's reduced by the amount of enemies. So when you're pulling with the hammer, let's say this table is a group of enemies. You're going to start from here. Hit him with that. Move in. Hit him with that. Slow him. Switch to your sword and board. Get your light attack chain up. Block again. Hit him with that. And then I use this on cooldown. Reason being, one, it's a reduce. It puts you at the top of the threat table again. And then when the ability expires, so we gotta wait for it to expire now. You're gonna see me, well, I guess it won't show the health back because I'm not low health. It might show it, we'll see. Waiting, and it's expired now, but yeah. Alright, so it doesn't show because I'm at full health. But when the ability expires, you get health back. And that's great. So again, that's my main tank build. Now, for the Warhammer, I have this set up as my DPS build. So there's not really any tank abilities in here. I'm looking at the Warhammer. There we go. So I have this set up for tanking. You could use this, for DPS. You could use this same build for tanking. You would just have to add a taunt gem into your axe. And it wouldn't be quite as good for tanking. So again, what I use is charge. So that's very handy. It's a gap closer. Reap heals you for the damage done. So as you look all the way down here, increases it to 8. Heal yourself for 30% of the damage done. So again, you need your strength to do damage to get your healing. And then Bloodlust was bugged. Now it's back to normal. Still good. 30% faster, 50% more damage as you look at a foe, etc. Critical damage is increased by 10%. Great axe attacks against foes with less than 30 heal you for 10% damage done. So in that really hard phase when the tank boss is low on health, healers are low on mana, people are low on health, you're freeing yourself and healing yourself. Again, great attacks against foes below 10% give more pen. Light attacks give you 5% damage. This was bugged. I believe it's fixed. I don't use execute in PvE. It could be fun in PvP, but the problem is it's got a slow wind-up. So I've really kind of shied away from execute. It can be a great ability, but it's niche. It's only against like big raid bosses. Whirlwind is great. A lot of people use it in PvP. I don't tend to use it. Same with Maelstrom. I prefer Gravity Well with the axe. Has good damage, good burst, and it holds people in the area. Plus, it gives you kind of a fortify when you stand in it. And it's kind of got a ranged. So let me switch to the axe here and show those abilities. Sorry, I got a whole bunch of crap in my bags from Alright. So you can use this at range. Charge in. Use Reap, which you didn't see the animation there. And then with the Great Axe, half the time you're just going to be heavy attacking. You got Grit from the build, does a ton of damage. You could do your short attacks where they get low on health, or you could use, some people use a combo. They'll use some lights to build up their light attack damage, and then they'll go heavy. But I mean, again, it's a lot of fun with this build. Let's see, Spear I'm working on, and I've been enjoying using these abilities, using Javelin, Sweep, and Vault Kick. And this is interesting as a tank. It's something you could use if you want to be a dexterity-based tank. Because again, as you look at it here with your attributes, the sword does secondary scale with with the sword. So the sword will scale 65% with dex, and it scales 95% with strength. So again, it's mostly a strength weapon, but it also scales with dex. So same with the spear, meanwhile, is 95% scaling with dex and 65 with strength. So if you wanted to, you can go constitution and dex as a tank, and you could, in theory, use the spear and use vault kick to taunt. But the issue with I find with the spear and the vault kick, let me equip it here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Where's my spear? So vault kick's kind of funky. It takes practice to really hit with it. I'm able to hit with it pretty reliably, but it's got very short range, and then that's your only taunt with the spear. But it's a lot of fun using the spear. So again, as you look at it, this could be a tank build slash DPS build. I use Impaler so I can get the javelin. So Throttling Spear deals 125% damage, knocks the target down. Headshots reduce the cooldown by 50%, plus 2.5% damage per meter traveled up to 100, so you can have up to 100% damage. And 25% damage while stamina is full. So while your stamina is full, you're dealing just a flat 25% more damage. Pretty much no weapon has this much bonus damage just stacked on, 100% of the time. Plus 10% critical chance on against targets that are more than 3 meters away. So it really buffs your throw. 25% damage against knockdown targets, which with a spear you knock them down a lot. Gain Fortify after successful heavy attacks. Sweep, knock them down. Grit for sweep. And then when you sweep them, you can stab down on them while they're down. So you've got the bonus of the damage when they're knocked down. So it makes this hit that much harder. Then passives, plus 5 crit on light. You use light a lot with a spear. All spear cooldowns reduced by 10% on the second hit of the light attack chain. And plus 50% on damage. Again, if you see this on any weapon, it's a good thing to get. And then again, Vault Kick. You gain in power. And it reduces your cooldowns by 30%. You'll notice if it has a cooldown reduction, I tend to take it. So, whenever I hit somebody that pulls my target, and I just reduce my cooldowns by 25%. So, very handy. Alright. That pretty much covers Spear, but like I said, so if you look at Spear, go to my weapon. When I have this equipped, 181 thrust damage, 849 damage. It's a 541 item level. Let's see if I have a 541 strength weapon. This is 535. I equip that, and you can see 1,154 damage, because again, I'm a strength-heavy build. So, it's scaling primarily off that stat. I can still, even with just strength, use a spear, and it will scale with that damage, but just not as much, so really it can't hit as high. If I throw something else with dexterity on, then I've increased my dex, and I'm increasing its damage. Not by much, because with this setup here, with the hatchet, and my dex-equipped hatchet, dex-equipped spear and hatchet, I only have 58 dex, so it's mostly still strength. That'll take us to our next weapon, the hatchet, which was recently bugged, and is no longer bugged. This is just fun. Hatchet throwing for days. Alright, so again, here's the build. So this one's not all the way up yet. I'll have one more point to put in. But you can see I'm very heavy into Berserker, so the next point will probably go... I'll either put it here or here to finally, buff one of these two abilities. So again, out of throwing, I only pick up 2. Replace block with an aim throw that deals 95% weapon damage. So that's just throwing. You can get 5 or 6 throws from the hatchet. And then critical throw. Thrown axes are now capable of triggering a headshot or a random crit. And it increases the crit chance of all attacks by 5%. So this ability, even though it's in the throwing tree, buffs all of this by 5%. So that's why you pretty much just always want these two. If you don't want to ever throw your hatchet, then you can drop this one and just get this one. And in the Berserker tree for melee, again, I use this as kind of when I'm out soloing, I'll use the hatchet for its healing, kind of self-healing, and you'll see why. If target's below 30, light and heavy attacks deal 20% more damage. Successful light attacks against the same target gain in power, granting 30% damage, increase for 3 seconds until the next attack. And then Berserk is your main ability. Triggers a Berserk mode that increases all attack damage by 20% while active. Berserk mode will be active for 12 seconds. Cooldown triggers once Berserk ends. It's taunt compatible, so you could use this for tanking, possibly, but again, when you've got Sword and Board and Hammer, why would you? Going down the tree again increases your movement speed. Gain a portion of your health back every 4 seconds to a max of 30% of your health. Triggering Berserk removes all crowd control. And while in Berserk, your attacks are uninterruptible. During Berserk, you can't be staggered. And the final ability on that tree is huge. When you receive lethal damage, avoid death, reduce to 50 HP, and gain immortality for 3 seconds. So you can stay at 50 HP for 3 seconds. And if you've got Berserk running, within that time, you'll heal up. Desperate Refresh. All cooldowns are reduced by 2% when hitting an enemy with an attack while your HP is below 30. So you're less than 30 health, you're defying death, your cooldowns are getting reduced. Raging Turret. Perform 4 fast attacks, dealing 90%. Hitting a target with Raging Turret gives haste. And the final one on that, pressing light attack at the end, will deal 100% weapon damage. Feral Rush is kind of a charge. Not quite. I'll show you here in a little bit. If the target's below 30%, it does more damage. And if Feral Rush hits a target in the back, it causes a root. So between these two final, I would probably buff this one. Just because, again, if you're using it to DPS in a dungeon, this is going to be more useful than this. If you want Hatchet mostly for PvP, then I would use Crippling Strikes. So that's kind of the interchangeable there with the last ones. So again, your kind of rotation for this is, you're just light attacking. There are abilities that buff heavy attack, but mostly you're just going to be doing light attacks. Berserk. Get your light attacks in there, get your buffs, charge in, use this one, and you can see, you can just keep that going non-stop. So it's a lot of fun, it's a good build. Personally, I use it mostly as a backup weapon. So if I'm out playing with my spear, where'd my spear go? Oh, there it is. So I might do something like, if that's a barrel, hit the enemy, run on up to it, get myself buffed, sweep, switch to this, and then just go to town and finish him off in close range. And then on to the next mob. So again, spear and hatchet work really well together. Sword and board and hatchet can work together in kind of like soloing out there. Same with the hammer, same with the great axe. So hatchet's a great secondary weapon, in my opinion, to kind of finish mobs off, or if you find yourself desperate and you want to pop berserk to get your self-healing going. So again, that's kind of everything I've got. I got that to drop. Oh yeah. I don't understand this. Okay, guys? Here's a tank shield, right? It's a tower shield. This is what you want for tanks, by the way. If you're going to tank, you want a tower shield. The kite shield's kind of mid-range, and then round shields are pretty much just for a damage-based tank. But really, you want to use a tower shield. Mine doesn't look like a tower shield because of appearance. I just like the look of this. But anyway, why would you have kind on a tank shield? You generate 12% less threat. You don't wear a shield if you're not a tank. You only gain the bonuses of this slot if you're using a sword. The rest of the time, they don't apply. So that 12% constitution, crit chance, all that stuff, the armor only applies if you have a shield equipped. So you'll see here that my cooldown should be up, so I should be able to put the shield on. Alright, so I got 12,000, let's see. I'm at 12,377 health with my shield out. Switch weapons. I'm at an even 12 because I've lost the constitution from my shield. Straight up to show you, if you're not using your shield, and that's not a weapon you're using, unequip it. Because what you're doing here is you're reducing and you're increasing your weight. So if you're trying to be DPS, like, staying in the medium armor or light armor or whatever you want, and you slap on a shield because you think it's going to give you extra stats, it doesn't do anything for you except increase your weight. So if you're not DPSing, get rid of it. You don't need it. Again, so equipment choices as a tank. I know this video is going on a lot longer than I'd intended. Equipment choices as a tank. You're going to want heavy armor. Every slot, heavy armor. You see here I got one with Dex and Con. I'm a strength tank build, but this has a lock on it, and it dropped, so I'm using it. The 9 Dex, whatever, it still goes towards my sword, so it's helping some. The most important stat on that armor is Constitution. Now, in my gear currently, I'm looking for a mix of strength and Constitution, preferring strength. So basically, the more strength I have on my gear... the closer to 300 I can get. And then I just adjust my stats to make sure I have at least 200 con. If I end up with more than 200 con, cool. You know, not something I technically go for. So as you look here, I'm 200 with the hatchet out. And the reason I do that is when I'm equipping my hammer here. So again, remember, I'm losing the 12 Constitution here when I switch to my hammer. But I use this when I'm tanking. So I want to make sure I still have the 200 con, so I'm getting the increase in armor. So that's your goal, is to remember, if you're using your off weapon as a tank, you want to make sure you still have your 200. So I adjust and massage my points here with my build to make sure I have 200 with whatever weapon. So if I get a new weapon, if I get a Warhammer that has 14 strength and 8 con, then I can go back to my attributes and I can reduce it down and have 96, rough math, 96 points of con, or whatever it is, you know, 102 minus 8, and reduce those 8 points and put them in strength, so I got more strength working towards my 300. So again, you're just going to work on those stats. I hope this video helped. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. And again, you know, strength, constitution, all good stuff on gear if you want to tank. Or if you want to go with a build like I was saying, where you're using sword and board, and instead of using the hammer, you want to use a spear, then you could go with a pure dex build. But pay attention to here. There. So on this page, it shows you the weapons that scale primarily with strength, right? And if it says dex and strength, since it's in here, it shows it's scaling with dexterity first. So spear is dexterity first and strength. Hatchet is strength first and dexterity. It says it in the order. So you know your hatchet will scale well with strength, but also some with dex. But you know your spear will scale mostly with dex, but strength helps too. So if you want to be a pure dexterity-based tank, you know that you're not going to buff your sword as much, but you'll definitely buff your spear. So you can go spear and sword. In theory, you could try, and again, I haven't tried this yet for tanking, but you could try a full avoidance tank, because you could get your threat generation with the spear, and then hatchet with the berserk. So you pop your berserk for your AoE threat. You can use your vault kick, but your mitigation just won't be there. The fact of the matter is this ability right here, the block, is crucial. The amount of mitigation you can get from ranged attacks, AoEs, hard-hitting abilities, you can't beat it. I mean, some of the big monsters will hit me hard enough that in one hit, they've knocked down all my stamina, and I'm reeling, and so I'll take another hit or two till it comes back. But again, you can't. There's no protection for it. I've already got all the skills built in to help with it. Where is it? Stamina damage is reduced by 15. But again, that amount of damage you just took from that hard-hitting mob, if you're hoping to avoid it completely by dodging or rolling as a heavy tank, that's your dodge, my friend. You're not going to dodge a whole lot. And when you dodge as a heavy tank, that's the main thing. And there goes half my stamina. Fact of the matter is, as a tank, you're just going to tank it. You're not going to dodge. You're just going to bring your shield up. You're going to eat it. You absorb it. You're going to get your light and heavy attacks in, and then pop your shield back up. And you'll see, since you've got it built in, you still regain your stamina with while you're doing your attacks. Again, that's really all I got for you guys. If you got any questions, let me know. I don't have a whole lot of help that I can give you on like bow or musket or fire staff or like, because I haven't played with any of the real ranged weapons yet. I've always been, as I'm stomping bull. That's when I first started with. I've always been a melee player. So I played with the rapier a little bit and enjoyed it, but since I ended up wanting to be mostly a tank, I'm sticking with mostly stuff that works with strength. It's some of the deck stuff. I may buff rapier just because reasons. And eventually I'll get into this, and I may try some healing later on once I've got enough stuff. I got a lot of work to do on this page. And again, I'm really enjoying New World. It's a buggy game. But if you want to check it out, I definitely recommend it. We are on... So this is our server that made our what's the term? Not guild. Company. This is our company, Midnight Collective. And we are on the Orifina server. How do you see server? Exit to main menu. I think it's the Orifina server. I'm going to double check for you guys here. So if you guys want to, go ahead and jump on the server. We'll get you invited to the group. Yeah, Orofina. Kind of a goofy name. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and like I said, my Star Citizen content is pretty much just going to be whenever I feel like it now. I'm not going to really try to grow this channel as much as I used to. If it grows naturally, cool. But I'm burnt out dealing with people criticizing me. It's like, listen, I'm a 42-year-old airline pilot. I do this channel for fun. I play games for fun. I've got a busy life. I don't have a lot of free time. So when I do have it, I'm going to play my game. Hope you guys have a great day. Great Thanksgiving. IAE is coming up in a couple of days. Let's see, it's on the 19th, I think. So it'll be up soon, and then you guys will be able to purchase ships and stuff. I'm not going to offer you any advice on buying ships. Just know that you can buy them in-game, or you can buy them with real money. Whichever way is fine. Take care, everybody.